Okay, this is Monday, October 18, 2021, Mixed Bag Story Swap, Berkeley, California. And our first teller tonight is Beverly Schwartz.
Good evening. Happy Halloween to everyone. I have a story to tell you. I was once invited to be a keynote speaker with David Ballard, the person who found the Titanic. He was one of the lead scientists on that mission. After we spoke, we sat down and had lunch, and we were seated at the main table, and all the big CEOs from the New York State Engineering Society were seated at our table. It was the New York State Engineering Society with about 1,000 people there. I was impressed. And when we sat down, I was sat next to him, and all the scientists and the CEOs and big shots were coming over and shaking his hand and asking him all these scientific kind of questions. I'm not a third grade teacher, so I really couldn't participate in those types of conversations. So finally, the lunch arrives. Everyone's starving, and everyone starts eating. And he sits there, and I sit there, and we're just looking around still. And I laughed, and I said, I bet you get the same questions wherever you go, scientific questions, don't you? He goes, yep. I've been asked all these questions 100 times. And we both laughed. I said, well, I have a different type of question to ask you. It's what I call a humanist question. He goes, well, a humanist? I said, yeah, something like real personal and more social and connecting with people type of question. He said, go for it. So I said, well, I've been teaching third grade, and my class has been doing a project on you, and they come up with a lot of questions about what you did and who you are. And I think my class and I are wondering, was there anything that was really out of this world or interesting or something that happened when you found the Titanic or before you found the Titanic that really got to your soul? He looked at me and he leaned forward and he said, well, come here. There is a story I could tell you, but I don't want anybody really to be listening to the story at our table. And I said, I would love to hear it and share it with my kids. He said, well, we looked both ways, come a little closer. So we moved our chairs up, and I'm like, ooh, I'm having goosebumps already. He said, well, we looked for many years in a submarine we designed with one window. So we took turns looking out the windows, the one window. And when you go to find a ship, there's a debris field as you start entering where a ship has sunk into the ocean. And as the ships come down, things come out of the ship and land on the ground near and around the ship. And there's also a debris field, and water goes around and around these ships forever. And any items that get caught in this debris field go around and around forever around the ship. So I'm looking out the window and we start seeing items that would match about the date, the timing of what would come out of the Titanic, trunks and bottles and other things were laying on the ocean floor. And we were getting excited because we knew this wasn't like a modern ship that had gone down. This was around the era of the Titanic. And I'm looking at the window and whoosh, right in front of the window comes a porcelain doll's head. And the eyes are blinking at me, up, down, up, down. I had a feeling in my stomach. This was a little girl's doll. She might have held it as she went down with the ship. She was probably with her family and other friends and relatives. And for the first time, I really felt the feelings that they might have felt knowing that they were going down and they were dying or going to die. And this girl had feelings, and she could have grown up and had stories to tell and had children and grandchildren she could have had. And when did she let go of the doll? And what happened is that the doll's head actually came off the body, and it was going around and around this dream forever that went around the ship. And whoosh, the doll moved away. It seemed like forever that this doll was blinking at him. It was probably only a very short time, he said. And then they saw more and more debris. And whoosh, all of a sudden, the doll's head came back again. And this time it didn't seem to be as slow as it was before. And it just like blinked its eyes and whooshed away. Like, now you get it. It's just not for science, but it's a humanistic type of question, which was, how did you feel about the people that died going down with the Titanic? About a minute later, they saw the Titanic. Was the doll giving us some kind of, hint that that was going to happen? Now, they explore the whole Titanic area with their, little submarine. And then they decided if they ever found the Titanic, they would never tell anyone where it was, because it was a graveyard site, and they wanted to respect all those that had died going down with the Titanic. And they also were afraid that if they let the world know, people would start coming and taking things from the Titanic and the area on the floor around it. Wow, I said, my kids are going to love that story. I said, but I know what they're going to ask me after I tell the story. What? He said. He seemed to be relieved that he was done with the story. And I said, my kids are going to ask this question. Were there any skeletons on the bottom of the ocean around the Titanic? No, he laughed. There weren't any. He said, give me a piece of paper. I'm going to write a letter to your kids, and you can read it with the story that you can tell them tomorrow. I said, it's so kind of you. So he wrote a nice letter to my story, and we shook hands, and everyone was shaking hands and everything. And I said, I have to get going. And, these people were still asking him questions, and he looks at me and gives me a sign like that before I left. And the next day, I had taken a picture of myself and him, got an autograph, and I took a poster the kids made and had him sign it. And I told the story, and we had a blast. Now, after I finished telling the story, I said, any questions? One kid raised his hand, and he asked, are there any skeletons? Thank you. You're muted.
Very cool.
Thank you. Happy Halloween. That's my Halloween story.
Thank you, Beverly. Do people ask you about the debris field? Because I'm confused. I'm thinking that explorers like Ballard are creating their own field because they're going down. And
No,
it's disturbing things that were there since the sinking, no?
No, they don't touch the surface of the bottom of the ocean. It's a little submarine, real tiny, and it goes like a little car, but it never hits the bottom of the ocean. And it just, drives around the ship. It doesn't touch anything on the ship, and it doesn't touch anything on the floor. And if they went through the stream that goes around the Titanic, then they could possibly interrupt the stream. But once the items are in that stream, they're there forever.
So large objects, or maybe smaller objects, create their own debris field.
Yes, from that came out of the Titanic when it went down. If a big whale goes through, maybe they'll knock a few of the debris, and they'll, the orbit of the debris might be changed, you know what I'm saying? But it just kind of goes there forever and ever if it gets caught in that debris field of the stream. But if it doesn't get caught, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, and it's some of it sticking out of the ocean, some is buried in the sand or the whatever. So, and that's what happens to all ships. You know, there's what they call a debris field on the bottom of the ocean with the ship. And as the ship comes down, it probably just didn't go straight down. It might have like this and this. So the debris field is a big area around the ship of things that came out while it was going down.
There's something about energy and fields, and from something so old and so tragic and so long ago, that has its own energy still.
And recently there was just like 3 weeks ago or so, there was a thing about the Titanic that said that it's disintegrating now in the water more and more. And it might not be there for much longer because of the disintegration of the age of the ship in the water and rusting out and pieces floating away. So, but they left it as a gravesite. No one knows where it is till even today. This is my cat. I'm sorry. Her name's Lily Rose.
Well, thank
It's
you.
Halloween. What's Halloween without a black cat, right?
Looked amber colored.
Yeah, she is. She's like black and browns, and she's my shy one. And I don't know what's wrong. She never always lives in the bedroom. For some reason, she's down here tonight. It must be because she knew my Halloween story. And I have a graveyard behind my house, an 1850. And this time of year, I have a lot of kids in the neighborhood go back and explore it and tell Halloween stories. And, you know, and they bring their wine and their beer, and it's fun. I have a lighting system and camera just so that they see their way through my front backyard so they don't hurt themselves getting there.
Wow. Let's see.
Any other comments you can put in the chat or say? I'd appreciate it because I'm going to be telling the story a couple times before Halloween. You're the first.
Beverly, I wonder, just the thought that passed when you were talking about spotlighting. I always like to see everyone's faces when I'm telling a story. And I thought if you're maybe not when you're doing something official, but if you're experimenting, I wonder how you'd feel about actually trying to experiment with seeing people as you're telling, because I'm guessing that if you're spotlighted, you see yourself, right? Or do you see other people as well?
I can see myself on the bottom and then I see everyone else on top.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I
So I
can
don't
see
know
the
where you're-
reactions of people, which helps me because you
Right.
can get your energy in a live performance, but it's hard to get it on Zoom.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's
But
what
I
mean.
can see
Okay.
everyone's face and everyone's reaction as I'm telling the story. So that's
Yeah.
not
Right. That's what I meant. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always really like people.
like you're
doing-
spotlighted now, but I see all of us on top.
Right. Cool.
Some of us just prefer gallery view all the time.
Yeah, I do.
I see everybody on the side. And they'll
Well, that's
square-
how Bobby has hers set up. I noticed that our wonderful Chagrin, who helps with the recordings for Zach, he was able, even though I had it on gallery in September, he was able to, when I looked at the recording, to spotlight the teller. Maybe he has some way of subtracting the gallery aspect other than the person speaking.
Even if it wasn't recorded on speaker, he could do that?
And my memory tells me I had it on gallery and I didn't spotlight the speakers, and we were not all on the, yeah.
Yeah.
From what I know, when you hit record, it sticks to whatever it was on when you hit record. So if you hit record on gallery view, you're going to be recording gallery view. If you spotlight
Uh-oh.
first and then record, I heard that once. I haven't experimented with it once too much. That might be
Interesting.
the case.
Beverly, based on what Asaf just said, when you were telling, did you look like you were on gallery view or on spotlight view?
Oh,
I was definitely spotlighted and I saw your faces above me, which was great. And so I always look straight into the green, that light, so that it feels like I'm told that the audience knows you're looking at them.
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that what we see on the screen is often going to be different from what gets recorded. Beverly could see herself in spotlight and we could all see her in spotlight while the recording might be taking gallery view. And I think that what the recording automatically does is it'll take whatever was happening when you hit the record button. After which, if you switch to Spotlight, Beverly will see herself on Spotlight. But the recording afterwards, when you look at it, will still be set on gallery view.
Interesting, because I'm pretty sure I hit record first and then I spotlighted.
Yeah, I think so
Beverly.
too. Which might mean that when you look back at the recording, you might get it in gallery if that's what you were on before, or whatever you were on.
We'll live and learn, I guess.
Well, we still get to see the story.
Now, you said that there was someone here tonight from the San Francisco.
That there
area.
might be,
Well,
that there might be, but I could ask if Marion's hearing us, she might be able to tell me, or Lori might be actually from San Francisco.
I'm going
but
to
I
put
don't
my
know.
email in the chat, and if your group would like me to come to tell this story and invite me to one of your swamps, feel free to email me and send me the information, or any other places that you know. I like to tell this story around Halloween. So, you know, it is Halloween month, you know. So, okay.
That, yes, fright.
Linda,
Mm.
while I did invite some San Francisco Story Swap people, they haven't appeared as yet.
Thanks, Marion.
I was hoping they'll visit.
Maybe they will, maybe they will. So let's see. I don't know everybody who has a story. I know Beverly might not make it. I think it's late for I know it's late for Beverly,
Yeah,
but I
it's
think you
about
were tired.
10:30. I took a little nap today to stay up, but you know, when I start yawning and hiding my face, you know, I'm losing it. Okay, so I've just put my email in. If you know of any groups who, I love to practice my stories before some of the shows I do. So if anybody wants to invite me to any group, you know, I'd be glad to come and do some of my stories.
Beverly, I'm not seeing your email in the chat. Why is that?
Because I just pressed.
There
the
it
button.
is.
Oh, there it is. Got it.
Yeah, make sure I did it right. Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good. Very
I
good.
really do. Well, also, I like your group. I love the stories you tell. Asif, I really like some of yours. You know, I'm also Jewish, and I've been doing some looking for stories, you know, and I just found a couple things, but sometimes people pair up and do things as a pair, and I didn't know if you did a lot of specialty in, you know, the world of Judaism or anything, but let me
You're-
know if you're interested.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I know some Jewish stories. I'm happy to, like, you know, chat sometime and swap them if you want.
Yeah, why don't you email me and we'll start emailing or whatever,
If
okay?
you can, yeah, or let's
My
write our
email's
emails in.
already in the chat.
It's in the chat? Okay.
You know what,
So-
Beverly? There's an interfaith storytelling out of Connecticut.
Oh,
And I
okay.
heard some wonderful Jewish stories of forgiveness last month. So
Oh, yeah, I have one story right now, and I just got this little book about healing stories of Hanukkah.
mhm.
And I'm reading them and trying to pick one there. And also what I'm seeing in a lot of the groups in Zoom now is people pair up and they do it as a team, some stories too. And that comes off very well. That's fairly new. I haven't seen too many of them.
Well,
So,
Beverly, if I may interrupt, I want to ask Marion about paired storytelling. Marion, is now a good time to ask you about your celebration in Antioch, California for what, Sunday, November 14?
Yes.
Is that paired telling?
Yes. Most of the SAC, Northern California, well, all Northern California story swaps are all paired with a Southern California story swap, except one, which is fine. There was two left and they of Northern. So when you start going on the SAC website, they may well be all listed there by now because we've all received assignments. We're
Oh, I
waiting
see.
for, yeah, notices aren't going out right now because we're still notifying people for all the October SAC events.
now
Does
I can join SAC event. I can join the California, whatever, and then I could be included in them, correct?
Absolutely, yeah,
That's what I'm
everybody
seeing
can
you
join.
doing. Yeah.
We have other members from around the world.
I'm friends with Ed Lewis.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
see him once a week in Connecticut on Saturdays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Are you asking me, Linda, for an entire celebration
No,
advertising?
no, I was actually asking to see that you had all of your paired slots for November 14 celebration filled.
This
and it
year,
sounds
Ed
like
Lewis
you
is
do.
in charge of that, not me. And yes, it's all finished. The pairs are all paired up.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, it looks, this is great. I don't know about Vicky, but I know that Andre and Joe have stories. I have a story. Marion may have a story. Vicky, do you have, and Vicky's raising her hand.
How are you? You're a good girl.
And
Only-
Asaf has a story that is a bit longer than usual. And
I think it wouldn't be a good idea if I tackle that one. I'll think about it, but I can tell a shorter one.
Lori was here and then she left. I was wondering which Lori that was.
I was wondering too, but I couldn't tell.
I always, as a host, when I'm a host on my own story swap, I just ask the people. And I have, yeah, because I want to know who
That's
it
very
is.
good. That's very good. I started, but I didn't prevail.
Because if it was Lori Pines, she has been attending San Francisco Story Swap,
Helping, yeah.
supporting SAC.
Yeah.
So she would know something.
Yeah. I think Lori Pines would have had her full name there, but what do I know?
Yes, she always
So-
does have her full name, so that's what I wasn't sure. So anyway, sorry that Lori left. Okay, let's move on with stories.
Who would like to tell next?
I can go.
Myself?
That'll be random. Yeah, sure.
Great.
It's one I have not tried yet, but it's my personal twist on a Jewish story. And I don't know if it's a well-known one. Do you want to? Are we just rolling, or do you want to?
We're rolling because I wasn't toggling. Poor
Sure.
Shags, he might have to do some work.
Editing on this. Okay. Well, this is a story about a very funny character. It's a guy named Choni, and he was known among the Jewish people as Choni, the circle maker. And the way that he got his name was that there was a drought. It wasn't raining for a very long time. And Choni, who was known as a bit of an eccentric, people were coming to him and asking him to please see what you can do because we really need some rain. And Choni drew a circle in the ground, stood in the circle, and yelled up to the sky saying, "I'm not leaving this circle until it rains." And he stood there for a day, and he stood there for 2 days, he stood there for 3 days until it started to rain. And it started to rain, and it started to pour. And it poured so hard that people came up to him and said, "Oh, this is too much." So he yelled up at the sky saying, "Oh, that's too much." And then it rained a little less. And then it was like just right. And that's how he got his name. So a bit of a funny guy. And one day he was walking down the road and suddenly saw a bunch of people running past him, running. And they all seemed to be running in the same direction. And someone who ran past him, he caught him and said, "Hey, where's everybody going?" And the guy said, "What are you, nuts? Haven't you heard the Messiah is here? And everyone is going to see him." And people were running and sprinting and just dropping everything they had and running up the road. And Choni thought to himself, "Oh, what? Cool, I should check this out." And he started running after these people and going wherever it was that they were going. And suddenly, as he was running, he saw on the side of a road this old guy, wrinkled and white hair with a beard down to his waist, just a man at the very end of his days, digging a small little hole, putting a seed inside, and slowly covering it up. And Choni looks at this man and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the guy says, "Oh, I'm planting a tree." And Choni says, "Well, listen, you might not have heard, but the Messiah is here. Come on, you should see him." And the guy said, "No, I'm planting a tree." And Choni said, "The Messiah is here. I mean, like, are you getting this? The Messiah is here. You don't need to do this right now. You should be going to see the Messiah." And the old man said, "No, I'm going to plant my tree." And Choni kind of looked at him in a funny way and just kept right on jogging with everyone else. But since he was a clever man, he decided he wasn't going to join the crowd and stand in this multitude and not even see the Messiah from probably like, the nosebleed section. He was going to sneak around and try to get closer to the stage. So he snuck around. He found this little staircase that went right up to the hill where apparently everyone was going. And he gets up to the top of the stairs and there's this guy waiting for him. He says, yeah, come on, get in. And he pushes him and Choni's on the stage. And there's thousands of people looking right at him and they are cheering. I mean, making a racket. And Choni's looking to the right and looking to the left and thinking, uh-oh. He tries to get back and there's people blocking the exit and he can't get off the stage and he stands there on the stage and everybody's cheering, oh, the Messiah, the Messiah. And he's looking around, he's, oh my God, how did I get myself into this situation? And there's a microphone in the middle of the stage and he walks up to the microphone and goes, hello? Everybody's like, whoa, the Messiah. And he's looking and thinking, okay, I better say something. Hi. Whoa. The crowd goes wild. Things are going to change. Whoa, the crowd goes wild. We're going to start, treating each other very differently from now on. And the crowd is like, you could hear a pin drop. Suddenly everyone's like completely silent. And we're gonna take better care of each other, and we're gonna start taking better care of the earth, and we're gonna help out. We're gonna plant trees, and things are gonna change. And you know what? If you'll excuse me, I have work to do. And the crowd just roars and he walks off the stage in this great, amazing climax. And he goes back to find that old man and help him plant a tree.
Nice.
That's my spiel.
Thank you, Asaf. I got the impression that the man who was planting the tree turned out to be the Messiah himself. It's kind of funny that way.
It's an expansion on, I think a lot of Jews at least would know this story, at least a little snippet about Choni walking down the road and seeing a man planting a tree. It's this little kind of one scene story.
Very relevant for today.
I know, right? I think for any time.
What was the man's name again?
Choni, in Hebrew, Choni HaMe'agel, which I personally would translate to Choni the circle maker. I don't know how I would write that in English, but it might be Choni. I could spell it for you in Hebrew.
CONHI?
CH, like ch,
Uh-huh.
what we might call a flemch,
Yeah.
and ch, CHONI.
Thank you. So this is a story a lot of people know.
The story is really quite brief. The story is,
Yeah, I like it.
I don't think the Messiah is in it. And I think that Choni is the guy that walks down the road, sees an old man planting a tree, asks him why he's doing that. He's never going to live to see the tree grow up. And the old man says, my father planted trees for me, and so I'm planting trees for my children. That's the whole story. That's the original Jewish anecdote.
I get it. I like it.
Anyway, yeah, I'm always happy to hear feedback. Love it.
I thought you told it wonderfully. Your expressions were great. You kind of hooked me in right away when he was waiting for the rain, and they said it was enough. And it was kind of like, where are you taking me from here? Where were you going after the rain? And then you saw the old man, so I thought the whole story was going to be centered about them. And then he takes off and going, where's he going now? So you kind of, took us along until at the end, and then it was a surprise ending.
Thank you.
And it wasn't in olden times. I thought maybe this was in olden days, but then he gets in front of a microphone and I realized it's in modern times.
And that's
That
definitely
was
a
a surprise too, you know?
I love that he couldn't get off of the stage. Thought that was
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
I wonder how clear it was when he got on the stage that he had gotten himself into the position of actually, like, everyone expected that he was the Messiah. Was that clear? It came
Yeah.
across. Okay.
It was very
I
clear.
would say so, yes.
Okay. Cool.
Is that in any book or that's just a common story that a lot of people of the
This,
Jewish faith
the
tell?
brief Jewish story that I told was something that you're going to hear from a lot of rabbis. I've typically heard it from them. I don't remember if I've seen it in a book, but it pops up everywhere. The
Okay.
rest was, I mean, Chonia, his story about the rain is also, that's a well-known little Jewish thing. Chonia Me'agel is a character, you know, a little bit like Nasruddin, though not nearly as well-known, and I don't think there are that many stories about him. But he's just this little character that pops up in Jewish like folklore. And then the whole thing about tying it in with the Messiah and the stage and all that, that's something I added in. So yeah, that you wouldn't find.
Huh. On Friday nights, I keep getting invited to the Hasidic Shabbos dinner. And they always tell some dinner, the rabbi's wife tells a story after dinner. So, you know, I get some good stories from there, you know. So, but it's, you know, I'm a reform and I go to Hasidic, you know, Shabbos dinners and stuff. So, but you know, it's interesting. It's like a different group of people in the world. You know, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Variety.
Mm.
Lots of it.
Well, it was
Thank
a
you,
lovely
Asaf.
story. Thank you. What a wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for
story.
listening. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Mm.
So, Andre, do you and Joe have a paired thing, or are you here uniquely?
Uniquely and together. I teach a storytelling class out of a day program, a village in our Bay Area. We teach do storytelling on Zoom and also in person. And Joe here is one of my participant students, storytellers, and writers. I have my own story, and he has his own story.
Yeah.
Well, I know Vicky has a tale. Bobby, do you know if you want to tell one tonight?
Depends.
Depends.
Depends on your time. Okay.
Asaf told us a shorter story than he thought he would, and mine's very short.
I have
Well,
a really short
I
one.
didn't time mine, but Andre, do you have a length for your tale?
About 5 minutes.
Uh-huh. So Andre, would you like to go next?
Sure.
Okay. Andre Wilson.
Okay. Thank you. The sun had just set. I was at that time of day that was halfway between day and night. It was just last week. I arrived home from work and decided to check the mail. So I put my keys in the lock, turned it, got the mail out, and I started to go through and look at and read and open what I received. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this black object go fluttering past me. I stopped sorting through my mail and I looked at it. It looked like a large black butterfly. It's just an unusually black butterfly, like silky black. And had this fluttery, jerky motion as it was going by. And I looked at it and said, maybe that's a butterfly. Maybe if I just reach out my hand, it could land on my finger. I looked at it and said, well, that doesn't look like a butterfly because those butterflies have like little spots on them. So then I decided, no, that must be a a hummingbird. That must be a hummingbird. No. It can't be a hummingbird because a hummingbird is really fast. It goes zipsing around, And I looked at it and I saw those distinctive scalloped shapes beneath its wings. And I realized I was staring at a bat, a real live bat
Mm.
that come out after sundown. And that bat was fluttering in the air, circling me because it started from and back by the trees and was going in front of me, getting closer. Well, I tell you, I slammed that mailbox and I got my mail. I stopped looking at my mail and I ran inside the house. And I told my partner, Rob, there's a bat at the mailbox. I was getting the mail and I was standing there looking at the mail and the bat came around, like circling me. And he said, well, that happened to me about several years ago. I was standing at the mailbox, sorting through the mail when a bat come fluttering around towards the light fixture there to eat the insects. And I said, what? You mean to tell me that there are bats lying in wait up in the trees and eaves, waiting for somebody not just to go to the mailbox, but to stand there and just sorting through the mail, reading the letters, read, and just stand there real still, just going through the letters. I said, oh my God, there's a bat lying in wait there, So that really wigged me out. And so later that night, I was sleeping in bed and I was awakened and I saw at the foot of my bed these two pointed bat-like ears. And I felt this creature come closer and closer and closer towards me on the blanket. And it got closer and closer until finally it was snuggled and breathing at my neck. It was my pet chihuahua, Mina. She always sleeps with us. And we named Mina after the character Wilhelmina Harker, the fictional heroine from Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula. It's a very fitting name because Mina has very sharp teeth. I mean, you get bitten by them, you feel like you were bitten by a vampire. Well, the very next evening after work, I took my guard dog, my little tiny toy chihuahua with me to go check the mail. And I looked around at the trees and the eaves. I just felt that I had all these eyes looking at me. And this time, when I got the mail, I didn't stand there reading it. No, I got my mail and we ran inside. Thank you.
Wow, Andre. Now you make me wonder if your neighborhood has people who put up bat boxes and they like sentries. Or maybe they're busy doing their bat business, or maybe there aren't bat boxes.
Well, in my neighborhood of Hercules, California, we have lots of old, abandoned Victorian houses. The windows are broken, the doors are open. So that's a great places for bats. We have a eucalyptus grove behind our condominium complex. And we also have little crawl spaces under the condos themselves. So they don't go far. They're right in my neighborhood. And that was my very first time seeing a bat. And the thing is, it wasn't at night. It was like this halfway period between day and night, and I just didn't realize what I was looking at until, my God, that's a real bat there, and it's circling me. Oh, I was just reading about bats, and it turns out that bats are the most common carriers of rabies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get bitten by a bat, you should immediately go to the emergency room to get
Tested.
help and tested. Yes, and also don't pick up dead bats, or don't even pick up an injured or a living bat. Indeed.
Bats are so important though, in terms of,
Yes, yes. In terms of eating insects and bugs, yes, they're extremely important.
That was a great story to tell around Halloween.
Yes, well, it just happened to me last week. So, oh my God, a bat. What my first encounter with the bats. Well, that's a great story to have here. So I just took it and ran with it. I rehearsed it in my car on the way home from work. Yes.
Andre, I can't stop thinking that you have to get Mina a pair of bat wings for Halloween. Or
I may have to get some bat wings for Halloween.
the other option would be one of those Dracula capes that has this thing around it, which almost looks like a black dog collar.
Yes, yes.
So that would also be really cool. She would probably hate it though, so I wouldn't want to
She
get
probably
her
would hate it.
trouble. But I couldn't resist the thought.
Okay, thank you, Essie.
before we leave bats, Andre, what about propagation? Not just biting, not just consuming insects, which we two-leggeds like to have happen, I suppose.
Mhm.
But remember that we once talked about, didn't we, about Bacardi rum and their logo? Their
Oh
label?
yeah, yes, the bat.
And so I think the bat is important to whatever ingredients go into the rum for, I presume, propagating. No?
Well, I don't know. I was only studying the part about the bats biting. That's all.
Yeah, go on. Thank you.
I'll Wikipedia the rest.
You made receiving my email, my mail more interesting just with your tale tonight. So
Well,
I'm appreciative.
just get your mail and go back indoors. Don't stand there really still, just looking at your mail.
Right. No, ours, we're lucky. Ours lands in the slot in the front door and lands on the,
Oh shoot!
in the living room. Yeah.
In the living room.
Yeah.
That's the mail. She's talking about the mail. I
The
think,
mail, not the
bats.
Okay.
Audrey, you did a good job of presenting, and you had build up twice,
Yes.
holding us there and building up, and then it came back later, and it was great. Even the second time also, because what we're thinking, you build us up to think,
Yes,
oh,
yes.
it's coming again. So that
Yes.
it was fun to be a listener through that.
Thank you,
you.
Marianne. I just
Yeah.
got it last week, and I decided
Yeah.
to run with it. It's perfect time of year.
Yeah.
The
That's
bat had
right.
good timing.
That's what the swaps are about. To me, I don't always want polished, finished stories. I want people practicing. And we all know when you develop a story, you got to get it out of your mouth so that it can develop. You got to just get it out. And so for me, that's what our swaps are about.
Yeah. I like to practice also, with all these groups
Yes.
before I really do something serious with,
Yeah.
Yeah, also, since I have a teacher storytelling class, I basically was practicing my story here, so I have something more polished to tell for class on Wednesday.
Excellent.
And
Good.
Sometimes it's vice versa. I do a story in class, then I'll bring it to the swap.
it
Yeah.
helps to have supportive people here too.
Yes, thank you.
Vicky, do you want to follow Andre? Or,
Sure, if
Yeah.
you want.
and Bobby's probably still thinking, Joe wants to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vicky, how about now?
Okay.
Vicky Ness.
Hi there. Let's see. Am I gonna, you know what? I'm not spotlighted, am I?
Yes, you are.
Oh, it's funny. I don't see myself spotlighted. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I do. Okay. I don't normally tell scary stories, but this being October, I thought I'd come up with one. And as you pointed out, swaps are a good way to try something out. It was the most beautiful house in the neighborhood, and inside all the furnishings resonated with brass and deeply polished woods, and the oriental carpet shone like stained glass windows with their brilliant, rich colors. and the crystal chandeliers just sparkled with iridescent light. And the house was being very well cared for by a woman who spent most of the day dusting and polishing and sweeping and mopping and cleaning up and watering plants and putting fresh flowers in big crystal vases. She worked and she worked and she worked. And she got to where she started to think that it was a little too much and she was a little tired of this, and maybe she would let a couple things go. And she was getting rather annoyed because she was starting to see that all her precious acquisitions were actually starting to act like demanding, blood-sucking, miserable, inanimate relatives. Polish me, wash me. You call that clean? My fabric is fading. And so she would run around keeping everything nice and clean and spotless, but getting mad. So one day she picked up an enormous shimmering silver tray that she loved to polish with her polishing rag because she could see her reflection right in there, just like a mirror. And she polished and polished, but her face grew grainier and farther away, as though a fog had moved in. And she polished and polished, but the face continued to recede. And that made her so nervous, she put the tray down and put a vase on top of it and started vacuuming. But the rug caused a little hump to form where her foot was caught, and she went flying. And while she was on the floor, it occurred to her that the furniture was looking down at her. And she looked straight up into the chandelier and saw that it was a little smudgy, and that won't do. So she went and got her stool and put it under the chandelier and started polishing and polishing and polishing and polishing. And then one final little crystal way over there said, me, me. And so she reached and reached and reached, and then she fell flat down on the ground again. Well, bruised and tired, she got up and put the stool away and sat herself down on the sofa so that all the plush velvet throw pillows could close in around her in a big, suffocating caress with icy fat tassels coming down onto her shoulders. And the deeper it held her, the more she sank into it. And all of a sudden, the sofa cushions rose up, revealing an enormous black maw, floating with stale cookie crumbs and forgotten pens and the occasional hairpin. And she fell right down into it, further and further and further and further into the blackness. And then the sofa cushions, woof, covered it up. And a geyser of air came up and caused a beautiful arabesque of dust. And her orchid plant nodded sporadically at this. And all the crystals in the chandelier, little tiny sparkling things, chittered maliciously among themselves. And the dust started to fall like gray snow. And the house grew quiet, except for a sort of guttural death rattle from the heating vent that inhaled and spewed its final exhale of stale breath. And silence. And so the house sat in silence, gaining in a sort of sepulchral chill, shadows creeping up the walls, vapors coming up through the floors, colder and damper. And with the exception of the occasional tissue paper thin leaf, falling off of its dead plant that had been strangled by dry soil, with the exception of the spiders that were up in the corners, weaving gummy, gray, ghostly, flat, fabulous webs all over. And the little flies lining up dead on the damp windowsill. The house was still. and it grew darker and heavier, and it became a sort of claustrophobic graveside feeling of cold and damp and depth. Outside, however, everything was normal. Everybody was going about doing their priorities and doing their projects and fixing the lawn and taking care of business. And then finally one of them said to the other one, "Have you seen the woman who lives in that house over there? I haven't seen her for a while." And the other one said, "You know what? I used to see her at the market, but I haven't. Every Tuesday, but I haven't." And they kept talking and they kept talking. And finally they formed themselves a very friendly little mob who came up the front and looked at the house and banged on the door and buzzed the buzzer and looked in the windows and hello, hello, hello. Nothing, stone silence. So they called the police, who came up the front steps there, and they banged on the door and they rang the bell and they looked in the window, hello, hello, hello. Nothing, absolute stone silence. So they broke the door down. And walking in, they realized that everything was normal. Everything was perfect. The bed was made to please an army surgeon. All the dishes were put away. The dresses and clothing were all hung up perfectly. Everything was fine except for maybe the stench of molding dead flowers and the smothering hand of dust on everything and distinct dampness about the place. But there was no sign of violence. There was no sign of struggle. So her name went down into the list of people who have disappeared. The house fell through the court system, and there it tumbled through the estates and property taxes, through the hands of underpaid law clerks and aggravated secretaries, until it finally landed in the very hands of an extremely energetic and acquisitive distant relative. Oh boy. And he showed up and he repapered and he repainted and he cleaned out and he cleaned up. And then he called his realtor friend, and she showed up and drove a stake into the middle of the yard with a big sign that said, "For sale." And then she set about staging it. But instead of warm and cozy heirlooms and antiques, she chose mid-century modern, and in it came sleek and angular, cold and beautiful, in colors like orbit orange and cosmic blue, vinyl with piping in brilliant colors, and a plate glass coffee table just barely floating over black stiletto legs, and decorator magazines all arrayed perfectly like beautiful candies in a showcase. And all of it was beautiful and inviting and cold and calculating. It invited people to come and sit down and right here, sit here, sit here. Make yourself at home. Tell me what you dream, with all the smarminess and calculated cruelty of a gigolo or a high-priced prostitute. It invited people to come in, come closer. And for its part, the house sat silently, watching with an icy patience of a predator, unblinking, waiting for the next warm soul to come home. Meh. Happy Halloween.
That was great.
Wow, Vicky. Let me not be taking this over first, as I often do, but I have so many comments. I will hold them. That's a great story. Who's first? Not me. For feedback for Vicky.
They never found the woman, huh?
Gone.
Gone.
It's what I think about when I clean house.
Where's the story from?
Me. I just made it
That's
up.
cool.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I hate cleaning house.
It struck me as very Stephen King. It was very cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like the impersonation of the furniture and it comes alive. That was just a fun experience.
Demanding,
Yeah.
inanimate, blood-sucking relatives.
Mhm.
Polish
Yeah.
me, fix me.
Mhm. Yeah, there were
Nobody's
some great
commented.
metaphors in that stuff.
Just outstanding. I love it. I just love your vocabulary, how you can make words come alive.
Thank you.
Orbit
Descriptions.
orange. Oh, Vicky, orbit orange.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Welcome
great.
to mid-century modern.
Yeah.
Beverly, I feel as though Vicky took the time to go through style magazines and furniture and get the right nouns and adjectives.
I used to write home furnishing ads for Macy's. So
There you go.
There you go.
You didn't know how useful that would be.
yeah.
You might have listeners wondering, I was one of them, because as she descended into the cushions,
What happened to her?
time passes, and then as we understand, a kind of moisture builds up. I was surprised, I think like Beverly, I'm not sure, that she really was able to leave the story completely.
Oh yeah, she's gone, girlfriend. She's gone with the cookie crumbs and the stale stuff. She's gone. It's Halloween.
It's a great statement about dust and how it flies up and falls down and settles and stays and then gets swept, dusted off, wiped away
But it comes back.
in spades. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have you given it a title?
I guess the haunted house.
I thought they were going to find her dead on the couch when the police came and looked.
She's
She's
gone.
gone.
You could give it like a really innocent haunting name, like 23 Privet Drive or
Yeah.
something.
Good idea. Very good idea.
I wonder where Asaf came up with privet. That's
Oh
funny.
yeah, I wonder where, right? That's the
No, I don't.
first street name. I think Harry Potter. I think that
Oh,
Harry
oh.
Potter's
I think so.
adopting family lived on Privet Drive. Although I could be wrong. That's a wild guess, but I think that's why that name popped into my head.
You
It was
know,
just the first street name.
well, Vicky, Asaf's privet notwithstanding, I'm surprised you don't have a trivet in the tail. That would need dusting too, or
yeah.
washing, or polishing, or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see, how are we doing? Joe, are you interested in telling your story now?
Yeah, sure.
Here we go.
I was really tired after a long week of work, school assignments, and other responsibilities. I knew I had to take a break and get my mind off my responsibilities. So I asked one of my friends, hey man, would you be interested to check out the abandoned horse track arena? My friend was like, yeah, sure. Because he was like me, wanted a break from his daily responsibilities. But then what he did was he went on his phone and did a video of him, the selfie, and post a Snapchat asking anybody who was interested in going to the horseback arena tonight. He posted it up. However, none of his friends were available because obviously it was last minute. And my friend was like, why don't we just wait till next week when all my other friends would be free? But for me, I did not like that answer. I wanted to go there today because I needed my brain needs a break from my responsibilities. So I told him that, said, hey, even if just us two go, it would be better than not going at all. Plus, if we go there and find out that it's a nice place to chill, then we can invite your friends next week to go there. My friend, after thinking for a little bit, said, all right, that's a great idea. So me and him hopped onto his, old shabby Honda. Right. Because, as college kids, we don't got money for any of the new cars. And so then we cruised down to the horse track arena. Horse track arena was really sketched. There was a barbed wire fence surrounding the entire arena. And there was also a rusted sign that says private property, keep out. And the barbed wire fence, apparently there's some people that actually went through there. I don't know who it is, but part of the fence was actually welded. So then that causes us to become easy to go through. We don't have to sacrifice trying to climb it and risk bleeding all over just to get into explore the horse track arena. We just had to squeeze through the opening. As we squeezed into the opening, we saw up on the balcony of the horse track arena, there were a whole bunch of beings that have this headlight on that was shining, and they had these green glowy outlines of their body, and we could see that those people with the headlights, they were staring down at us as we were trying to walk and explore in the horse track arena. And I was, to be honest, was really scared. I was like, should we go now? Should we leave? My heart was like beating and racing, but my friend was like, you know what? Since they're just staring and they don't seem to be moving down, why don't we just continue and explore the horse track arena, shall we? So we went to what seemed like the entrance of the horse track arena. But just when we were about to go in, we saw the ghosts with the headlights coming down the steps and coming towards us, swarming towards us. And then we're like, we gotta go. Like everybody, like me and my friend was just so scared. And we started running. All we can think about was just running back to the car and heading back. And in the process, I tipped over my drink and obviously splattered it, got wet all over and stuff's very uncomfortable. But when you are in a life or death situation, we just cannot stop. We have to quickly get to the car and make it back home alive. Phew, made it to the car just in time. And I was like really scared that time. But then my friend hit me up the next week, said, yo, what's up, man? I got 10 of my friends that want to join us to go see that haunted horse track arena. Want to come? We're going to be going there midnight, like last week. All right. And for me, 10 people. All right. Not 1, not 2, not 5, not 6, not 9, not 10. 10 plus 2. What does that equal? 12. So 12 people. That's a good group of people. For me, I was thinking, you know what? 12 people. Let's do it. Right? Because then it's not just us two. Maybe we can scare the ghosts off. And then so then obviously, we were rebels taking 2 cars and having 6 people per car in a 5-seated car. Like, yeah, just rebels, right? And then we were just driving all the way back to the horse track arena. And when we came out, as usual, like last week, there were all these ghosts like staring at us up on the balcony, trying to catch us. And one of my friend's friend actually handed me a bottle. He said, so are you good at chucking? And I asked him, yeah, why? And then he said that, you know what? My plan is I have 2 bottles. I'll give you 1. So that way, if we go explore the horse track arena, if the ghosts start coming at us, you should chuck the bottle into the distance and hopefully it will like land on something and explode, like crash and stuff, and that way we can distract the ghost to go somewhere else and not come at us. And I was like nodding my head, oh, good idea, man. Took the bottle, we went into the horse track arena, and like last time the ghost started coming down at us, and And because we had the bottles, what I did was I chucked the bottle into the darkness right there, and it made like a huge, cracking sound, right? It exploded. And the ghost just all of a sudden, all the ghosts just went to check out what happened, what caused that cracking sound. So then me and the 11 other people, we just continue on and explored the horse track arena. Now, the thing about this horse track arena is that it's really, really abandoned. It's not only abandoned, but it's also broken beyond repair. Like wherever we explore while shining our flashlights, you can see all these different broken shelves, broken cubbies, those bathrooms that are like half operating, like those toilets and everything are all cracked and shattered and everything. And there's also these, elevators where the shack is like in between like level 1 and level 2. It's just so broken beyond repairs. But we explored and took pictures, did all that stuff, and then when we're done with going to the first floor, we went to the second floor. But while going up the second floor, going up the staircase, we could hear those squeaky sounds because as if the floor is about to collapse. And when we got to the second floor, we saw this gate that was like literally just fell over, and we had to find a way through. And luckily, my friend saw the small opening and told us all to, squeeze through. Went through to the second floor, and then we saw all those rooms that were very dark and stuff. And we went exploring, seeing all these different things, all the different history of this, horse track arena when it was operating like 100 years ago. And when we were about done exploring, remember all the rooms were dark when we just got to the second floor. When we were done exploring and started heading back to the staircase, we saw one of the rooms all completely light up with candles. And the thing about it is that my friend just whispered to me, hey, want to blow out the candles? And then I was hesitant at first, but then the other friend with a bottle said, here you go, I'll give you this bottle, in case there's some ghost there doing some demonic rituals, you should throw that bottle and distract them, and then go in and blow the hell out of all the candles. And I was like, I was a college kid, immature, obviously giving into peer pressure. So I was like, all right, sure, I'll do it. I went there to the room and I was completely creeped off. There were all these ghosts that were doing the demonic rituals. And in front of it, there is this doll that's like kind of like how a frozen doll, obviously, because it doesn't look alive, but it's like smiling and just like holding up the thumbs like this. And the thing was that it was creeping me out like hell. And so then what happened? But then I wanted to distract the ghost to want to blow out the candles, right? So what I did was I chucked the bottle. And the problem was the bottle hit the doll, and all of a sudden the doll came to life and was just yelling, kill those intruders, kill those intruders. And all of a sudden the ghost went look back at our group, and there were like a swarm of ghosts, right? Hundreds of them, and we knew we were outnumbered. So we had to hurry out and escape the arena back to the cars. Hopefully we can make it there without being captured and killed. So we ran as fast as our legs could carry us, got to the car, and sped off just in time before the ghost caught any of us. And anyways, so then we got back home, and on the way back home, my heart was beating so fast that I thought that I was gonna die. All right, a few months later, my friend actually went online and saw the news saying that the abandoned horse track arena was torn down. So then he asked, well, what do you think would happen to the ghost? Do you think the ghost would be roaming in the city? And then I told him, said, you know what? I don't really want to talk about this because that night really creeped me out and I had the worst nightmares of my life.
Wow, Joe,
Yeah.
that was a lot of energy.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
I live near a racetrack. It's not abandoned,
Really?
but you really made it come to life for me.
It actually, the interesting thing is someone has asked me, like, is this real or not? It actually, the funny thing is that this actually happened. Like, the thing about the story is that I actually went to an abandoned horse track arena in real life with a group of friends. And the funny thing was that obviously weren't these, green beings. Those were kind of made up. But what really did happen, like in the real life, was we went there and there were people doing those demonic rituals with the candles. And that's what made me, yeah, for real. Like we were there and then we saw that and we knew we had to leave. But yeah, yeah, and then we left right before like the cops started to come.
I loved your details.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I like the journey. I was with you, looking in the rooms, peering in, wondering what was there. So
Yeah.
as a teller, you brought me, you were very good to bring me, the listener, along with you to visualize where you are and what's going on.
Right.
You gave me
Thanks.
sufficient details to
Yeah.
bring me with you, and that's a good teller. So you're doing good.
Thanks.
Go, Joe. Any more comments?
Well, I really enjoyed. Of course, he's my student, so I really enjoyed Joe's story. I love his energy, his youthfulness. I love his use of hand gestures aimed at the camera. There, it was quite a dynamic storytelling. It was quite thrilling just seeing him blossom as a storyteller. He's only been doing it for like a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
So I'm really quite happy and pleased and proud of him. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Andre.
Sure.
Thank you, Andre. Bobby, let me ask you if you've decided if you do or do not want to tell tonight.
Tell a really short one.
Oh, would you like to tell it now?
Sure.
Would you like to be spotlighted?
And well, whatever.
Okay.
The Slitterly D, it squirmed out of the ocean, but it didn't eat me. The Slitterly D, it crawled on the ground and ate all the animals, but it didn't eat me. The Slitterly D, it climbed around the flowers and ate all, but it didn't eat me. The Slitterly D, it ate all the trees, but it didn't eat me. The Slitterly D, whoops, he ate all the people, but he didn't eat me. The Slitterly D.
Uh-oh, Slittery D.
We need somebody to go check on him.
Was that on purpose, Bobby?
Yes, that was.
Oh, that's a good Slitterly D. Oh my gosh, special effects.
It's a poem. I can't remember from whom, but it's a
It's
poem.
great to see a story
I was
that
in the
actually works
stomach of
really
the
well on Zoom.
Slitterly D.
Yeah.
You don't
Oh,
know
my
where
word.
that came from?
Yes, I do, but I have to do some research. I got it stuck somewhere on my desk. Oh my
Beverly, I
God.
wonder if Beverly's the only one who got the TH. I was trying to decide if it was Slitterdy or Slitterly. It never occurred to me that it was Slitherly or
Yeah,
Slither.
Slitterly D. Let me see if
Beverly, did you see it in writing before or you just heard the TH?
I heard that, yeah.
she heard
I
it.
have a hearing impairment, so I really listen to words.
Oh,
People
okay.
speak
I
to
don't,
figure things out.
it's stuck somewhere in my Halloween stories. I haven't told it very often, but it's funny. It's by a poet. If I should remember his name, I can't. Sorry, guys.
That was great.
Okay,
I
I'm
know
not
right
Michael
away.
Silverstein.
It'll come
And
to
you
you.
can, I felt like saying the Slitterly, and now I'm in the Slitterly D. Or something like that.
exactly
That was more fun to just disappear. That was
right.
That was really well done. That was great.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask when the next event is for your group? So I can put it on my calendar so I don't miss it.
Are we talking mixed bag or
What?
are we talking mixed bag or for somebody
one.
else? For this one, we will be Monday, November 15, the Ides of November.
Yeah.
November 15th. Huh?
Okay. What do you mean
Wow,
by
but
Ides of, I mean, I've heard the thing Ides of
Well-
November, but can you just,
Well, it's
explain?
usually, I don't know, I use it as the middle of the month. It's not just March that has an Ides, I'm told.
Is there a theme or anything? No theme?
November? Thanksgiving?
When
if
I say
anybody
the
wants to
Ides of,
tackle?
I just said the Ides of November because the mixed bag third Monday falls on number 15 of the month.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna put it in so that I make sure I come again. I'll star it as favorite.
Now, though, you do
Love
make me
their
wonder.
stories.
Yeah, thank you,
The
Beverly.
poem was by Robert Scott, whoever Robert Scott was a long time ago.
Oh,
I
thank you.
told it
Bob.
at the Asian Art Museum in the Hindu gallery, but I changed it quite a bit for those guys, those little kids.
Cool.
Beverly, do you have to leave now? I was going to, unless Marion wants to tell something, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna need to head out.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Thank you, Asaf.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good
you,
to see you.
Asaf. Thank you.
Good
I'm trying
night.
not to yawn too
Night.
much at this point.
Mhm.
Night.
Thanks
Yeah,
for all
well,
your
it's late.
feedback.
You're welcome. So for anybody staying, I'm going to now tell a story from the Bayou.
Okay.
Some of you, probably several of you have heard it before, but it's what I like to tell in November. I mean, in October. There was once a man, Pierre, who lived with his wife, Alida, on the banks of the bayou. Alida and Pierre had a tight little house, and they had good neighbors. And between that, they had almost everything that they needed. And Alida was a happy, generous, fun-filled, plump as a pillow sort of person. Pierre, he was thin and, let's say, Pierre, he was as he was very, very specific. And what he was very specific about was how he felt. And Alida would hear him every day, more than once. Oh, I think I'm going to go away soon. Oh, how I feel. And she would say, Pierre, you're fine. Here, have a big bowl of my good gumbo. What? You would feed gumbo to a sick man? But you are not sick, Pierre. Try it. But he wouldn't. And the next day it would be the same. He would begin with, oh, Alida, I think I don't have long. I think maybe it's time. Oh, pauvre moi, pauvre moi. And Alida, she did her best, but she then determines to do something different. And the next time Pierre began to complain, she took a close look at him and she said, Pierre, don't talk so loud about maybe it being the end. Madame de la Mort might hear you. Madame de la Mort, who's that? The angel of death. Your eyes, they're glassy. Your cheeks, they're pale. I think you are sick. But you don't want to let the angel of death know, not Madame de la Mort. Oh, Pierre put his hand up to his forehead and he felt how hot it had. It felt it hot. And he said, I am sick, sick, sick. And she said, Pierre, you should lie down and I will go into town and I will see if I can get the traiteur. And I will hope that I will bring him, the healer, back before it is too late. And so Alita leaves and Pierre lies down. But Alita doesn't go away. She goes into the shed and she hides and she waits. And when she thinks that Pierre is asleep, she goes back into the house very quietly after having brought with her a heavy chain link. And she goes up into the stairs above the main room and quietly listens and hears Pierre. He's sound asleep. And then she slowly begins to rattle the chain. Woo! Woo! And Pierre wakes up and she says, Ooh, I am here searching for someone who has been calling for death before his time. Ooh. Who are you? I am Madame de la Mort. And I am looking for Pierre. Ooh, are you Pierre? No, I am not Pierre. He is not here. Oh, where is Pierre? Pierre, he is out. He is at the Fay du Du. He'll be dancing all night. He won't be home till early in the morning. Oh, I will wait for him. Oh, no, don't do that. I will go get him. I will go get him now. And so Pierre, he's out of bed so fast and out of the cabin so quickly, he breaks the door as he's leaving. And once he's outside, all he can do is run into the swamp. He's not worried about the swamp, nor gators, nor any cottonmouths. He's worried about Madame de la Mort. And he waits, and he's wet, and he's uncomfortable, but he waits, and he waits. And just by the time he thinks that she has left, Pierre goes back into the house. And as he's climbing the stairs onto the gallery and into the front door, then he feels a hand on his shoulder. Oh, Pierre, it's me, you're Alita. And they look at each other, and his eyes are as big as plates. And he says, Alita, it was Madame de la Mort. She came. She was here. You do believe me, don't you? Pierre, of course I believe you. But how do you feel? I feel full of energy, full of life. And Madame de la Mort fed him a fine bowl of her good gumbo. And do you know that Pierre was not sick again one day for the rest of his life? And he ate plenty of Alita's good gumbo.
Nice, like it.
I take that from J.J. Renault. a teller who couldn't be with us long enough, but she came to the storytelling festival 1 year. I don't think more than once, and she wrote that story.
Very nice.
Thank you, Beverly, for staying this late to hear it.
I'm trying to keep up here,
It's
but
almost midnight there.
yes, it is. If I tell early,
Wow.
then I can listen and I know I'm sleepy, but if I waited till later, I wouldn't be a good teller. I'd be wanting my story, But I love this group. You do wonderful stories. You really do, I leave smiling,
I love your sound effects.
Yeah, they were great. And what I liked is the use of your eyes. When you were saying something that was eye-opening, boy, your eyes just came right out and helped tell the story. That was good.
Thanks, folks. Well, I think it's wonderful that we all made it, and I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah.
glad about it.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
So to November,
to November. We'll drink to November.
there are so many events between now and then. Marion might even have a last word, or if that's a last wave.
Yeah, well, Wednesday is Spooky Scary Stories by the SAC organization. It's $5 and up donation. If you're not a member, it's free. If you're a member, another reason to join.
Is it in person or is it here on Zoom?
It's on Zoom.
Okay.
So go to Storytelling Association of California and just over on the side menu, click genre stories. Yeah, and because you do need to register. So
Okay,
that's
I saw the thing. Yeah.
that's this coming Wednesday night. And then throughout November is a series of celebrations. So they also should, I haven't looked, should be on a menu of celebrations under the SAC story time. But mine, Delta Word Weavers, is with Inland Valley Storytellers of Southern California, and it is on November 14th. So hope you come to mine, but also there's a lot more too. So
Cool,
come
yeah.
and enjoy.
Do we have to sign up? Marion, do we have to sign up through SAC to
Yes.
come? Okay.
The celebrations are getting special numbers. They're not their usual number for November.
Okay.
So again, it's for protection against the Zoom bombers, which some of us have experienced.
Oh, yeah.
So the registration is for that reason, and we have a different, but we, on all of our advertising, we do, but when you register, yeah, you have to register to get the special link.
Right.
And then because you register, we have your name and your email. And then we know who's
Doing it. Yeah.
bombing us if they choose to do that after they've registered, but they don't usually. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Come to Celebration and come on Wednesday for more spooky stories. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you all.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Good
night.
Bye.
I'll
Good
see you
night.
next month.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stopped recording. Marion, that's great that you were able to come.